meeting to order. Oh, there. I'll start with wishing everybody a happy Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with us all. Let's do a quick roll call. I'm Matt Hevner. I'm present. Michael Delosi, not online. Okay, I don't see Michael. Michael Altair.
Present.
David North.
Here.
And Georgia Strickfad. Here. Great. Thank you, everyone.
Whoop.
Hey, all right.
Michael Delosi here.
I'll catch my breath, and we're here. We have a full house. All right, we have a quorum, and the first agenda item is approval of the agenda. Hopefully everybody had a chance to look at it, even if you just ran in. Any motions?
I move we approve the agenda.
Great, thank you. Any second? Second. I see a motion and a second. Everybody in favor? Say aye. Looks like 5 out of 5. We've got an agenda. On to item number 3, it's public comment, and this is reserved for comments from the public on items that are not otherwise included on this agenda tonight. We welcome public feedback, and please limit your comments to about 3 minutes and let us know your name and where you are. Anybody from the public? Don't see anybody in the room. Anybody online? Nope. Okay. On to item 4, approval of the minutes. Hopefully everybody had a chance to review the minutes. I looked them over and iterated with Louise. Did anybody find anything or want to make a motion?
Move to approve the minutes as presented.
Great. Thank you, David. Any seconds?
Second.
Great. Thank you, Michael. We've got a motion and a second. All in favor of approving the minutes? Georgia, you checking the, approve the minutes? Okay, excellent. Perfect. Wasn't sure if there was an objection. We're all good. Okay, 5 out of 5. Approved the minutes from the last meeting. And now we're on to presentations and discussion items. Up first is the Rose Street Reconstruction Project, and I saw Karen.
Hi, we're going to have the project manager, Chris Sanchez, do the presentation.
Great. Thanks, Karen and Chris.
Share a screen, hopefully.
Yes, how do I turn this to?
Oh, you need to go into Zoom and then hit share screen.
No, but I wanted to get rid of the site.
Oh, right. So play,
Let me see slideshow.
yeah, play slideshow. Not new slide. That's slideshow right here.
Okay,
Right up there.
right there.
There. Not now.
And then right here, from beginning.
There you go.
All right.
Now you have to share screen.
Okay.
So go back.
Sorry. Let me see.
We're so used to working from Zoom, it's easier than in person.
All right. So I'm gonna share screen. Share. Okay, and then from beginning.
Yeah. There you go.
All righty. Good evening, Mr. Chair Hevner and board
I don't have a
members.
screen.
Just a sec. I think we need to get George's screen up. I don't know. Is it just probably just
Okay.
a power button?
I can move to another monitor.
Let's see if it comes on.
Got it.
All right.
Thank you.
Sorry, Chris. Go ahead.
Sorry.
I'm here to present our next project that will be coming out as Rose Street Reconstruction Project. Let's see. Oops. I'm going to, how do I go back now? Here we go. All right. This project will support the council goals for operational excellence, infrastructure, assets management, quality of life, mobility, and the public safety. project goals are to address roadway and drainage issues and improve them. I think it's been if anyone's driven down Rose Street, it is in desperate need of some work. Right, currently the pavement condition, the PCI is at 37, which is poor and unacceptable range as per our standards. We're also going to do some pedestrian and ADA improvements throughout the project. We're going to rehab the storm drains and the drain system throughout the road. We were just out there today and we addressed one issue there that we're going to end up changing and putting a whole new structure. We're also going to do some utility improvements. We're going to replace, rehab water and gas infrastructure throughout Rose Street to take it on into Peach Street. Here's the project location. We're going to start at Central Avenue, and we'll proceed north, east on Rose Street till we get to the end of the street at Peach Street. We're also going to do a little bit of work north and south of Rose Street on Peach Street. So we have future projects that are scheduled on Peach Street and at a later year, so we want to make sure we have it ready for those projects. The scope for Rose Street road improvements is we want to remove and replace the pavement sections, so that's removing all the asphalt, taking out all the existing base course and reprocessing subgrade, putting in new base course and then new asphalt. As I said, we want to rehab existing storm drain inlets. Right now there's 3, and we're going to put another drop inlet in, so we'll have a total of 4 in the area. Remove and replace targeted concrete infrastructure like curb and gutters, sidewalks, driveways, and make sure that everything out there as far as the ramps go meet the ADA requirements. Currently, we do not have a suitable staging area, but we are looking into where we can have a staging area within the project limits that's close enough. This is a configuration of what we're going to be doing at the intersection of Rose and Spruce. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but the picture on the left right now currently has these standing delineators. And what we're going to do is we're going to, instead of having this intersection as it is now, if you look to the right, you'll see the new configuration where we're going to direct traffic to a single area to enter Spruce Street. And we'll also have new sidewalk with curb ramps in the area. We'll also have some going to Spruce on Spruce Street, because what's going to happen down on Spruce Street, about 100 to 200 feet, is another project that we're working on that should be coming up pretty soon too. So we want to tie them in. So that will be the new configuration at that intersection. The utility scope is they want to add in a 14-inch ductile iron and a 8-inch PVC lines through the whole existing location of Rose Street. So starting from Central in Rose, they want to put in the 14-inch and take it all the way till they get to Peach. They also are going to put all new hookups to there's a church in the area. They want to take an 8-inch into the developed area there where those townhouses are, and whatever other, I think there's another living quarters there. They want to provide all that brand new also. They want to place a new water line at Oppenheimer Place also. That's the development there. They want to do gas line upgrades. They want to replace existing gas main and service lines. New connection from main gas line to meter at Oppenheimer Place. So they want to upgrade everything in that area. That's going to be, it's a tight area, so it's going to be very congested there while we're trying to do the utility placement based on the existing utility location. Also, we did have a question about fire hydrants, and we have currently been in contact with the fire marshal, and we are going to continue working with him, and he will give us how many more fire hydrants we're going to need, plus where they should be located, just for the question we had received earlier this week. So we are in touch with the fire marshal to adjust that issue. Our project schedule is that we want to advertise July of 2023. All goes well, we get our bids. We want to award contract in August of 2023, and hopefully start construction in the fall of 2023, with the project being complete in the summer of 2024. It's FY 2024 funding and budget. We have for the roadway $2.6 million. We have a grant, a MAP grant, and a TPF grant from DOT, NMDOT, and our utility budget is $800,000. Our project coordination, as usual, this is different entities within us that we deal with. We have the trash pickup, the Atomic City transit routes. We also will coordinate with the United Church of Los Alamos, the thrift shop and day school that's there, LA Public Schools, school bus routes, mail delivery will be maintained during the project, and then Betty E. Hart Senior Center and Oppenheimer Place will also be affected by this project, but we will coordinate with them. Project challenges, traffic management. I've noticed, just been out there when we were designing the project, a lot of cars cut across there to get to Central, and before it turns to Canyon, and we noticed that can get heavy. It's a quick shortcut, you know, and so that's going to be one of our issues. We've got to keep bicyclists and pedestrians access dependent on the sequence of phasing of the construction. So during utility work, it's going to be a little difficult, as you know, when we're putting in the water line, but we'll set up a path that will be well signed. We might have to go to a traffic control setup of one way at different phases of the construction. That way we can pretty much perform that construction rapidly. We'll do this through traffic control signs and all the devices necessary to keep the traveling public safe. The work hours to be determined, typically it's 7 to 5 p.m. Currently, I have a contractor going 3 11s and 1 7, and then it's a 3-day weekend where the residents are very happy about that because they don't have 5 days of construction going. They got 3.5, so that is a pretty good method. And plus the contractors are happy too because they get a 3-day weekend, all the construction workers. We always maintain dust control daily via a water truck. Today, as far as public information involvement, today is our T-board and public meeting. Before start of construction, we always hand out notices, flyers will be distributed. We also put out notices to local media. Ongoing notifications during construction, we always how I like to do it is we'll start off and we'll give notifications, and then when we start changing it, like phasing of construction, say utilities is done, now we're going to move into the concrete portion of the project, then we'll notify through hangers, door hangers, the next phase we're going to be going, and then when we get to the asphalt, we like to let them know ahead of time too, because sometimes with the asphalt, they might not be able to access their homes during that day, or possibly during the work hours. institutions and residents that are going to get directly impacted, like I said, we like to give them 48 hours notice through door hangers. And I'm always usually on the project, so I interact with all the residents. I interacted with board member Altour plenty of times last year. So, okay, please submit all comments by May 11th to the Public Works Department, 1000 Central Avenue, Suite 160, Los Alamos, New Mexico 87544, or you can phone the 505-662-8150 and or the fax 505-662-8109, or you can also email. At this time, does anyone have any questions?
Well, first, Chris, thanks a lot. Great presentation, interesting project. I don't drive that way a lot, but when I do, I've noticed that it's a little confusing the first time or two, so some of the modifications you're talking about are really interesting. I think there'll be a lot of good board discussion, but maybe I'll open it up to public comment first, and then we can have board discussion. Is there anybody in the room that wanted to have any public comments on this road construction? Yeah, please. And if you could stand up, just for folks online, stand up your name and where you live and use the mic so people online can hear. Yeah, thanks. Sorry. And if you could keep comments to about 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Martin Swinhoe. I live on Circle Drive, and everything that you've said sounds fine. I just noticed that Circle Drive wasn't actually mentioned by name as one of the places that would be impacted. And I think that Circle Drive's a bit odd in that it doesn't belong to the county, or the county don't service it, they don't clear the snow, they don't repair the surface, but presumably the join between the new road and our road would be totally taken care of. It wouldn't be left in a bad state of the connection. And presumably we would get plenty of warning so that we could leave our cars outside somewhere, maybe on the library car park, for example, if we couldn't drive in and out of the circle itself.
Great, thanks for bringing that up. Yep.
Yeah, you're correct. We would give you the advance notice, which is we like to give is 48 hours. We would let you know that it would be during the day when we're paving. Our limits in paving is going to be where the right-of-way line is between Los Alamos County and Circle Drive. Those will be our pavement limits. And usually the way pavement operations work is we'll be paving on one side of the road first, which we call a pull, and the other side will still be open for access to Circle Drive in and out. Yes.
Chair, if you're okay, I'd like to add too. Yeah, I also noticed that about Circle Drive, so we'll make sure to coordinate that. And is there sort of a mailing distribution list, or do you guys have meetings, HOA? What would be the best way to contact all the residents?
There is a HOA.
Okay.
And we can probably
Okay.
give you the mailing list, or you can send it to the HOA and they can distribute it maybe.
Okay, great. Thank you. If you could leave some contact information with Chris or Karen before you leave, that would be great, so we can coordinate with the residents. Yeah, Circle Drive is a big stakeholder of this project on this.
Great, thanks for bringing that up. Any other public comments in the room?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Yep, I see online. If you could say your name, it says Kyle Wheeler, but.
Yeah, I'm Kyle Wheeler. Could you stop the screen sharing so I can actually see what's going on? Thank you. Okay, so I used to be on the T-board and was quite active, and I spent many years going in and out of Oppenheimer Place because my mother lived there until last September. I do think you definitely need to do something so that there is at least one way on Rose Street because at all times, because probably the fire marshal has already told you this, but there are oftentimes quite a few ambulances going to Oppenheimer Place. And so emergency access to that particular place will need to always be available. And then also the the residents there are all elderly. They don't get emails. They don't find out about things real quickly. And I think 48 hours notice, I'm kind of wishing, I'm hoping that someone from their board would have been on this meeting tonight just to address anything that might be an issue. But Rose Street definitely needs this reconstruction, even after you've refilled the potholes that resurface every single winter time on the south side of that street, because it's always in the shade in the winter. They reappear pretty darn quickly. So I'm hoping that the storm drain plans that you have in place are really going to help that. And that definitely needs to be reconstructed. And I thank you I know that back on the days when I was on the T-board, there was a resident who lived over there in the Chapel Apartments who was pushing hard because she was disabled for reconstruction of this particular street. And I'm really glad to see that it's finally happening. Thank you.
Yep, thanks for the comment, Kyle. And I think, Karen, you had a...
I would like to answer your question. So yesterday, I attended the board meeting at Oppenheimer Place. Tanya, who's the operation manager, invited me. I was on the agenda. I spoke to the board about the project, invited them to come here, and I think some are on Zoom. I'm not sure, but at least they told me they're going to try their best. But we do have open communication with them, and through their board, and all the board members asked questions, and I was hopefully answered them as well as Chris did.
Thank you.
Great, thanks. I see Alan and Karen, at least that's the name tag on Zoom. If you could give your names and where you live and public comment, please.
Hello, we're Karen and Alan Schmidt, and we live at 920 Circle Drive. And I'd like to begin by saying we're really happy that it sounds as though Rose Street is always going to be open in at least one direction during the construction, because we were concerned about access to the homes on the circle. And I was also happy to see that there's going to be a reconfiguration of the intersection of Peach and Rose, because that's a pretty confusing intersection right now for pedestrians and for people who are using it, especially if they're driving into Chapel Apartments. And the concern that I especially wanted to address is at the entrance/exit of Circle Drive. When we cross Rose Street, it would be wonderful if it would be reconfigured so that the crossing would be perpendicular to the road, because right now, and I'm especially concerned because I have a 3-year-old grandson and a newborn granddaughter who live right next door. They live at 921 Circle Drive, and we cross the street with them on a very regular basis, both to go to the peak, and the grandson is going to be attending the preschool at the United Church in the fall. And right now you have to either go to the left significantly or to the right significantly, because there's a barricade. A guardrail that is directly across the street. And so, yeah, our request would be if that could be reconfigured so that people who are exiting Circle Drive or entering as pedestrians can walk directly across the street. So, thank you.
I also have a comment. I noticed that we walk this way always, often, to get up to Ashley Pond and so on. There's a entrance to Circle Drive that's got a chain across it that connects to Central Avenue. And if they're going to close the road and the entrance to Circle Drive, could we have that chained entrance that connects right directly Circle Drive to Central Avenue? Could we have that open so that we can drive in and out with groceries, whatever else we happen to be moving or buying, and so on? It would just make easier access for all the residents on Circle Drive. Thanks.
Great, thank you for those comments very much. Juan, did you want to?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Thank you for that comment, Alan and Karen. I do believe that chain, though, I believe is maybe part of the Circle Drive HOA. I don't believe it's county. I mean, we could look at that, but.
No, that's correct.
Is it? Okay. Okay, yeah, so it was confirmed by one of your neighbors that it is HOA, so I think maybe the discussion might work there, but that's a great idea to at least alleviate some access there, and we could maybe put some signs on Central Avenue just alerting folks that there might be people coming in and out of there while we're doing that reconstruction work right in front of Circle Drive. But the preference will be Circle Drive onto Rose Street for a majority of the construction, but when we do have it closed, that's a great suggestion, so thank you.
Great, thank you. Is there any more public comment online?
Chris, were you able to discuss the perpendicularity request? I don't know if that's something we can even address.
Perpendicular on which?
That was what Karen was asking about for walking at their exit from Circle Drive.
No, but we can go back and look at that.
Okay.
Yes, definitely look at that.
Great. Are there any other public comments online? I don't see any. Nope. And anybody else in the room? All right, I'll open it up for board discussion. I think what I'll do is just work our way down the aisle. Michael, do you have anything?
I have two things I'd like to hear a little bit about. It looks like you've done a great job at community outreach, and I wanted to confirm that last year when you did my neighborhood, I really appreciated the outreach where you had a meeting for the community writ large, and I hope that was a good experience for you. I don't know what kind of feedback you get in those cases, but that was a useful thing. So I wanted to applaud that you're doing that again. The other issue is in looking at the proposed intersection. I'm wondering how that whether there's any thought for how that might affect bicycles going through that neighborhood, or any of those kinds of issues. And then the third one was last month we talked about packaging a number of projects together to make it cost effective for contractors, and I was wondering if this is the kind of project that was being discussed last month in terms of trying to build a big enough package to interest contractors to the area. So that's.
Thank you, Chair Hevner and Board Member Altair. So I will have an update later on in the evening about a follow-up sort of discussion based on exactly what you were talking about of innovative ways of looking at different things. This one, I don't think would be a candidate maybe for that because we have applied for some state funding, some grants that we just haven't heard back yet from. Hopefully we'll be successful on that. And if we do that, then we'd want that project to be standalone. So this project is sort of in the category of how 33rd, 34th is going on this season. Thank you.
All right, that's everything, Michael. And Georgia, anything?
Thank you for the presentation. It says targeted sidewalks, reconstruction of targeted sidewalks and targeted gutters. What do you mean by that?
Board Member Strickfaden, we say target on the presentation, but we're doing all the sidewalk within Rose Street and curb and gutter.
Okay.
And ramps.
Are they going to be 5 feet wide now?
Yes.
Yay, okay. And I had a comment too about the Rose Street Spruce intersection, the handicap ramps there. The one over on the left-hand side, the lower left-hand ramp on the picture, on the schematic here. With the 5-foot wide sidewalks, it'll help, but that ramp, if it could be pointed more downhill, because anybody like in a motorized wheelchair that has 3 or 4 wheels to get over there, they're going to have a tight turn no matter where they're going.
Okay, I was trying to bring back up the schematics,
Yeah,
but for some reason, it logged me out of the meeting. Let me see if I can get back in.
and the same may be a problem over on the other side too. So you have them angled off so that they, when you're going into that ramp or even coming out of it, you've got to make a turn. And there are a lot of motorized wheelchairs around there and baby buggies. So I was wondering if they could be angled straight to where they're going or coming from.
Okay,
I can take that, Chris.
go ahead.
Thank you, Board Member Strickfaden. So yeah, I noticed that, and actually I sent a text to our county engineer when I saw that too. We're going to look at that configuration of those ramps. I mean, it is tricky with, we have a lot going on there, but I do think that maybe we can do some tweaks and look at maybe a crossing for rows also, because
Okay, great.
that is going to be a very heavily pedestrian area.
I've been through that with that,
Yeah.
as it is now, with motorized wheelchairs with people who
Yeah.
are on them. And so, yeah, I'm glad that it's going to be redone. But that angle is going to be problematic, I think. And speaking of sidewalks, there is no sidewalk down from Oppenheimer Place if you go to the west. If you come out of their underground parking and go to the west, there's no sidewalk. And so you've got to, if you're going to get on a sidewalk, you've got to either go up to this corner, or is there any way we could put a sidewalk down to Circle Drive? That would help. Also, the problem that the comments from the public were that, it's hard for pedestrians on Rose Street.
May I ask you a question? It's coming out of the parking garage and going to the right or the left? To the right.
Oh, yeah, actually both ways.
The left, the Oppenheimer condo people would said, we don't have that much right of way, but it's also too shady there, and there would be ice. And they actually said, please don't put a sidewalk there.
Oh, you're kidding.
That's actually from the board, along on if you come out of they said it would be a waste because all the trees and it would be shady. But going to the right, we might want to look into it because they do have a path, but we are limited on some right-of-way issues there.
It's not an accessible pathway.
No, it is not,
It's in
but we
the
are
rocks.
limited on
Yeah.
right-of-way
But they-
issue. That's
okay,
the
if
issue that
that's-
we're looking at. But we'll definitely look at it.
Yeah, I had a relative there too. In fact, the family owned a place, and it was,
Yeah, yeah,
handicapped coming out of there is just,
absolutely.
okay,
Yeah.
if that's what they want.
We'll have to look at it.
Definitely.
Okay, thank you. I think that's it, and
Okay.
for my question.
Thanks. I'll go last, but skipping over me, and I think you guys already got my questions anyways. Michael, did you have?
So the question that I had is, we're going to plan on starting construction in August of '23, which I believe is the same time as Urban Trail Phase 1 and 2. Is it Phase 1 and 2? Juan, was that right? So that means we'll be having construction on Canyon at the same time as Rose. Is that true?
It could, it could, yeah, depending on when. These are still anticipated times, so that's if we still hit all our milestones for bidding,
Understood.
award, and all those things. So there could be that potential.
Okay, and we don't know, because we haven't bid the contract, what the order of Urban Phase 1 and 2, I mean.
Exactly, yeah. So one of the things that we are trying to be considerate of is during the Oppenheimer movie debut, July-ish area, so we're talking about trying to be a little creative of not disturbing anything near Fuller Lodge around that time, and coming back to it once hopefully some of that secedes, because we don't want to have that under construction if we do get a lot of influx of people to town to check things out. Thank you.
And Georgia can maybe tell us more about that later. But yeah, so other than obviously it's going to impact Circle Drive people and Oppenheimer Place parking, for the rest of the community with Canyon open, I don't see it as a problem. But if Canyon were impacted at the same time, we will get massive complaints. But I'm sure you know that. So I just want to make sure that that's mentioned. Otherwise, you covered everything that I would like to have known, Chris, so thank you very much.
Great, thanks. David?
Yeah, number one is you're adding one storm drain. And just because I'm curious, why?
Currently, Board Member North, it's kind of weird. It's like a rundown that falls off the road, and then it goes. The flow of the storm drain flows back under the road. So we felt that we would like to put a DI there that would control any of the road water. Keep that in the road, and then it'll fall directly into the pipe, and then run with the flow run of that storm drain.
That makes sense. I'm a little curious, is that possibly going to lead to a little more deterioration of the asphalt where it's running in the road?
No. What happens is that the curbs are designed to have a flow where the curb contains the flow line within the curb. Now you won't get more. The flow of the water will stay in that curb line. Now you'll get some sheet flow from the road generally, but it won't create more flow as far as the street goes. It'll be the same.
Okay, that answers that. The other thing that I'm curious about is pretty minor in a sense, but it's something that we should probably be certain about. Where the Spruce Street realignment is happening, you've got what I think is 2 rental properties, one on each side. And on one of them, it's big apartments, and that's just a little garden area. And I assume they know about that and don't probably care very much. But the other one, there's going to be extensive changes in the corner of their property. I'm assuming that we've discussed that with them, that they're aware of all of this and okay with it?
We haven't reached out to them yet, but we were planning to see if what public comment had, and if they were sure they did receive our flyers. But we had already discussed we need to meet with them and let them know that they're actually going to have a little more front yard in that area, and then we're also going to extend their driveway a little out further too. So.
I think Mr. Ulibarri has something to say, but let me clarify why I raised that issue. It's because they're commercial properties, and if we contact the people who are living there, the people who actually own it don't know about it, and that's why I'm raising the issue.
Understood. Yeah. Thank you. I was just wanting to say, I think that's county property actually on that you're talking the east side of Spruce and Rose in that intersection. I believe it's county property that might be getting leased to another user. Cumbres, is it? I forget what the building, who the leaser is, but I believe it's county property.
Its ownership is listed as Los Alamos Group Home Incorporated.
Okay. Because I had checked it on GIS, and I saw something different, so we'll double check it, though.
Yeah, I don't really know. But thank you.
Everything, David? Yep. All right. Great. Any last comments? No? Well, thank you very much for the presentation, for all the public input, and for the good discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. On to the back page. We've got a presentation from James Varela on autonomous transit.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and board members. Let me get hooked up here and we'll get started. So share screen. Alrighty, so autonomous vehicles. presented today by myself, our Deputy Department Director, Eric Martinez, and our Department Director, Juan Rael. Today, May 4th, 2023. So a little bit about the history of autonomous vehicles. Back in 1948, cruise control was invented, and the first vehicles came out with cruise control. On 2012, Google's autonomous car tests 14 miles for the first time in Nevada. And then in 2017, NHTSA reissued safety guidelines for autonomous vehicles. So the Society of Automotive Engineers classifies autonomous levels from a ratio of 0 to 5, 0 being no automation, to 2 partial automation, and 5 fully automation. Currently out there, most vehicles, the highest you can find are level 4 automation. So how do self-driving cars work? Most of advanced systems are part of vehicles with a combination of specialized cameras and LiDAR sensors around the vehicles. These sensors include LiDAR, which is a detection of light and ranging. It measures distance, helps software build 3D maps. Radar, it measures the distance of obstacles. Cameras, they're used for lane obstacles detection, traffic signs, and mounted for 360-degree views. Environmental sensors identify temperature and precipitation conditions. And then global navigation satellite service, stored away roadway maps, lane geometry, and general rules such as stop signs and other infrastructure out on the roadways. Areas of innovation is autonomous driving, navigating a vehicle without human input from passengers using LiDAR, which is your sensors. That little photograph to the right shows you all the different types of sensors where they're mounted on the vehicles. Driver assistance. All these sensors detect pedestrians, crosswalks, signals, anything in the obstacles or in the surrounding areas of your autonomous vehicles. And then telematics include telecommunications, vehicular technologies, road transportation, and road safety and electrical engineering. And that picture to the right kind of shows you how they work, and they sense 360 degrees around you, vehicles, following distance, people following behind you, the sides, clearances, and all that good stuff there. Autonomous vehicles in public transit today and in the future. So use of autonomous vehicles are being used for microtransit, for that first and last mile service that could expand accessibility from people's homes or places of work to the fixed route services and getting them that extra leg. Reduction in costs. Maintenance could be less expensive. Safety benefits is less accidents. A lot of errors are caused by human, and so these vehicles are tested and found to be a lot safer than us humans out there on the road. So driver operators will need to be retrained to become computer technicians. So now you're taking a driver from being a driver and maybe one day giving him a joystick to drive a vehicle, right? ADA compliance requirements. You still may need an on-bus presence of an operator to help secure those people or give assistance to getting on and off the bus, or even a regular vehicle. So key benefits of autonomous buses, there's 3 of them. The first one is enhanced connectivity. One of the key goals of public transportation is to increase connectivity for that first and last mile that I described earlier, from that home to the fixed route, or for the business to the bus, or getting them off the fixed route bus, getting them home. They help to increase the frequency of public buses traveling on fixed routes. The on-demand service can be optimal mode of transportation, not places we don't serve right now, you know what I mean? So the autonomous bus could be sent off to go pick somebody off that called in Barrito Acres, we don't run service, a fixed route there. Autonomous vehicles are also able to function around the clock as they have low to no downtime. So the second one is they improve safety. They go through rounds of testing, and they're being sure to be a safer navigator than than we are. Autonomous vehicles can reduce the risk of human error, which is one of the key causes of road accidents. With artificial intelligence, self-driving vehicles are most likely to reduce the number of vehicle-related injuries and accidents. And the third one is driver sustainability. They're likely to pave the way for more sustainable transportation. A lot of autonomous smaller vehicles are even electric these days. An on-demand autonomous shuttle can be booked in advance or when needed. It reduces unnecessary trips carried out by fixed route buses or that service low-demand areas. Enables more informed driving. And then autonomous shuttles could connect surrounding environments through infrastructures and other vehicles for smoother driving without frequent braking and or accelerating. And then it could reduce carbon emissions due to unnecessary idling and delays. So some advantages of autonomous vehicles is you have that 360-degree. These sensors are always continuously just picking up on everything that's going around them. It reduces accidents. It might be reduced accidents caused by drivers. Higher traffic efficiency reduces road congestion. As we all know here during peak times in the morning and the afternoon, as we just saw coming to the meeting, it takes a while to get off those Alamos. So, access for persons with disabilities and with reduced mobility. Even people with visual and hearing disabilities will be able to have an autonomous vehicle, you know what I mean? So they're not just dependent on someone else. They could get around the community on their own. And then sustainable vehicles. These vehicles have the potential to operate based on clean energy, so carbon and greenhouse gas could lower tailpipe emissions. Some of the disadvantages is data protection issues, high cost of implementation. You know, there's a lot more cost in autonomous than your regular vehicles. Inclement weather, a lot of the radars and lidars, they perceive objects in their surrounding, but they're also influenced by environmental conditions due to weather. They are getting better at that. I've researched, and they're actually adding little heaters to the cameras and sensors so that, you know, in the winter, that's melted and it can read the road. And the ability to maintain repair and maintenance technology. So, you know, I know for us in the county, you know, looking at autonomous buses and that, you know, what new tools and training of mechanics for, you know, repairing the vehicles. Some of the current pilot projects that are out there, I mean, there's a whole variety of them, but, you know, some of the Keyless has a project in Vegas right now. They're operating 8 hours a day, 8 passengers, 6 days a week. It's sponsored by AAA. And this little vehicle here on the screen, it's an electric vehicle. Some of the other ones, May is using Siennas. As you can see on this here, it has all its little sensors on it and everything. These people, they're still using somebody in the vehicle to help passengers get on and off and secure them for those that are ADA or have a mobility device. So what does this mean for Los Alamos? So some potential benefits is it's a greater road safety. We know we have a lot of traffic up here. Greater independence for those that don't have. Saving money. And saving money is, you know, if these vehicles are safer than we are as humans, you know, it reduces insurance claims, costs on accidents, all this kind of stuff. And then congestion, you know, it could reduce a lot of the congestion in and out of Los Alamos. For transit, you know, as we all know, we're really hurting on transit drivers right now and vacancies and trying to promote and get people on. It could help with that. It could help us be more productive, servicing different areas of our communities, not just where we service now. It could help with our peak services, you know, with those peak times when we have a lot of riders, we could send an autonomous vehicle, go get them and send them, take them where they need to go. Express routes, we do our backup routes because we get overloaded with some of our routes. We could send an autonomous vehicle to pick up these students, and our driver could focus on the students and help them out, and as opposed to paying attention to driving and the students and all these other things. So with that, that's my presentation on autonomous vehicles, and at this time, I'll open it up for any questions any of you may have.
Great. Thanks, James. I hope you had fun putting this together, because
Oh,
it
I
looks
did.
like it. This looks
I sure did.
Well, thanks a lot for running through this with us. I've got a bunch of questions. But first, I think I'll open it up for any public comments. I don't think anybody in the room. Public? Nope. I don't see anybody online. Is there anybody, Louise?
Yes, I did. My name is Ramike Kleinrath. I live Los Pueblos. I was just wondering, do you have an estimate of how far out in terms of years a pilot project in Los Alamos could be, or like when this is going to be commercialized, or is there some option of using Los Alamos as a test bed for such technology?
Well, I think based on the community we live in, we're a technology community, it is something to look into, even in the near future, not just the far future. And there is a lot of pilot programs where they'll come in, they'll work with you, they'll hire a team, and they'll do a 4-month trial learning all the routes that the buses are going to run through, the vehicles, and then they hire everybody, bring them the drivers, and then they roll it out with you. So there are ways to partner with somebody to do a pilot project. My thoughts are a great route would be a pilot project might be our Route 1, our downtown route, you know what I mean? As an autonomous vehicle, it's flat area. We're not going up and down hills as a pilot program. So definitely we are looking at, what benefits the whole community as a whole. So.
Great. Thanks for the public input and the response, James. Are there any other folks online? Nope. Okay. I'll open it up. We'll start at this end this time, just to keep us all awake. David, nothing? No. Michael?
Yeah, I had a couple. So I know I talked to the person who I think brought this up originally, and I appreciate you taking this on to give us a little more depth on it. So we talk about reducing road congestion. The 2 example vehicles you showed looked like 6 or 8 capacity. Would they be used in a sense like sharing an Uber where multiple people would be requesting, or when you give the example of the downtown route, that I understand, okay, obviously that's not a problem at all. If it expanded elsewhere and was being, I don't know if ordered is the right word, but requested by an individual, it's still going to be the same amount of cars on the road unless multiple people are using the same route, right? Okay.
So yes, definitely these ones that I showed you, they're 8 passenger. There's a new thing out there called commingling where you can interface with paratransit and on-demand service. So somebody calls, they schedule a ride, we can send them and pick up somebody, go do a shared ride and pick them up, and then the software will schedule them as needed.
Okay.
Pickups and drop-offs, yes.
Okay, thank you. The next thing, you mentioned the 5G network coverage. Do we already have that as a goal for the county, or am I thinking of internet access wireless program, and would that be viable as an alternative to the 5G network?
Well, currently, all these autonomous vehicles aren't using 5G network. They're actually all independent on the vehicle. So that's where your LiDAR comes into place, your sensors and your cameras. It's on board with you at all times. You're not using a cellular signal.
Yes, Dave.
One comment on congestion. This is old research, but the Japanese looked into patterns of driving, and if people drove in the ideal fashion, in other words, if they were cooperative, if when traffic started to move, everybody started to move at once, et cetera, the difference was dramatic. So in a completely different aspect of that, congestion could be very minimal even right now if people would just do what they ought to do. And the computer would. People don't. So that's something to bear in mind.
I get that. And then the last thing I think I wanted to mention, since you pointed out the flatness of the downtown circulator, inclement weather's listed here. Have these been, when I see automatic driving vehicles, it's always really dry, clear roads. Is there testing in snow that we do get sometimes?
Yeah, so New Flyer actually put 35-foot buses in Connecticut, and they've been testing them on snow and different weathers. And that's where they started adding these little heater sensors to the sensors and the cameras, because they were having, it snows, it gets covered, the slush covers them, so the LiDAR and sensors can't pick up where the vehicle's going, the lane lines and all that. So, yeah, they are testing all of those little things. So,
Cool. Thank you.
Yep.
Great, thanks. Everything? Great. Georgia, do you have any questions or comments? Nope. Michael?
So I would say we have a bit more challenging topography than Las Vegas. I'm wondering if we should, if we're going to move in this direction, if we should be considering things to outline our roads better, like guardrails along Camp May Road, for example. I wonder how I don't know this technology at all very well. So I'm curious whether or not we should be thinking about, are there things we could do that would make autonomous vehicles more efficient and definitely more safe by doing something to the roads to help them? Obviously, the downtown circulator is a great test case, but if we were to run autonomous vehicles to the ski area, for example, in the wintertime, I do recall reading on a visit to Las Vegas, one of the things that shut down a number of experiments that they had going on in town was a heavy rainstorm, and everything just came to a halt. So that was good. So I'm wondering, is there something we should be thinking about that as we're doing road construction projects to facilitate this?
Yes, good question. So in all of my research, yes, infrastructure is a major part of all this. So your infrastructure out in the community, your streets, your road signs, your lane markings, your traffic lights, all of that has to be in conjunction and in accord for your autonomous vehicles to operate. So, if you have a road out there that don't have the white line or the double line, it's not going to read that. So it's just basically going off the shoulder. So all of those things do take part in all your infrastructure.
And then one more thing that with human drivers, I noticed, on occasion, people arriving late to the bus, myself included, and the driver, courteously slowing down, pulling up, and letting me on. I'm thinking there'd be some rage against the machine when buses just pull away.
Right. So, well, luckily, right now we're at a level 4 autonomy, so there would be a person on the bus that could help with that. So.
Great. Everything, Michael? All right. I think I have 4 things total. We haven't hit yet. One was just some observations. I saw something in the last week or two about some tests that were going on. I think it was San Francisco, and the vehicles fail safe, which is good, but they came to a school crossing and couldn't figure it out, so they stopped and blocked traffic for a while. So you want them to fail safe, but that's a challenge if we were going to deploy during rush hour, for example. We don't want these blocking traffic and have a bad reception. So that's just sort of an observation that I saw. I don't know if you saw that.
I actually read that today, that article. And so, they're designed, if something like that happens, it completely shuts down. It'll stop, shut down.
Which is good, but yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. And then I was curious if you'd agree with me. I think we already have autonomous vehicles in town. They're just people's Teslas. And I think those are probably level 4, I would guess. And I don't know how much experience.
The highest Tesla that's out there right now is a level 3.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's partial, you need the driver in the seat with it. But yeah, it does drive itself.
Yeah, so I don't know if
level 3.
Anybody has, if you've done any outreach to folks in town with a Tesla level 3 and see if they've driven up Amazon.
Actually, one of my employees drives a Tesla, so I picked his brain quite a bit.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so that's level 3. The next question that I think I'm going to lead to maybe a motion that we could consider even. I'm curious about the options. We hear a lot of demand for Saturday bus service. And it seems to me there's less traffic, and that might be an easier place to do a test, both to answer the community demand for Saturday service, but also not impact traffic with fail-safe kind of things. So did you think some about Saturday service specifically in these autonomous vehicles?
We're looking at everything, what options are available. Definitely, it's in our transit study to provide Saturday service, you know what I mean? And with the shortage in drivers, this is definitely an option that, you know, we could look at.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, is there other discussion? I think I'm going to be brave and make a motion around this. So making sure, I think if I make a motion, then do we discuss it, or do we need a second to discuss it?
You need a second to discuss.
Okay, so I make a motion. Is that right? I want to make sure I get I'll make a motion, look for a second. If there's no second, it'll die on the vine, but then we'll have discussion, and then we'll vote. And we can get feedback on if it's helpful to the county. Okay, thanks for bearing with me on the process.
Chair,
Yeah.
was there a particular motion you were looking to?
You'll hear, I was
Okay,
checking it.
'cause I was like, we don't have anything in the packet for you, so I don't know if you were.
Well, that's why, can we make a motion since it's on the agenda? Fair game? Yeah.
Sure.
So I wanted to make a motion that the county consider evaluating autonomous vehicles and as Los Alamos County as a test bed for autonomous vehicles. That's the motion I'd like to make. So I made a motion that the county consider it.
Louise, can read that back perhaps? Make sure we got it right.
Consider a trial. Yep. I'd like to make a motion that the county consider a trial
of
autonomous vehicles.
Test bed for.
Just that. I think keep it simple.
I'll second that.
Okay, we got a second.
If I may, before you continue, thank you. Maybe the motion could be in relation to I recommend to county council to bring this forth, because as the board's capacity is recommendations to the county council, and the county council would give the direction to the county manager, and it would work its way back down to us. So I would recommend just that maybe suggestion to the motion, and that would be a good topic for discussion on what's later on our agenda is the presentation to council. So just some more thoughts before your discussion. Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, no, thanks, Juan. That's what I was hoping, was to make a motion and get a second so that when we could discuss it and see how I might modify it to make it useful. And I figured, yeah, you guys are already doing it. But yeah, a recommendation to the county.
To county from the T-board to the county council to consider whatever your motion just was.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay. So I'll probably modify it that way. But is there other helpful discussion on how we? Yeah, Georgia.
It seems like staff time has gone into this already, and they're probably looking at, but just to reconfirm to the county council that we think that this needs to go along. So I really appreciate you guys doing some work on this.
Perfect, thanks. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. My motion is intended to support this and move it up to county. Is there other? Yeah, Michael.
So I'm not totally clear what it would mean to ask council to consider a trial, because obviously you're researching it and investigating in it right now. That's very vague. And maybe that's the intent, and when we're talking about the presentation to council, we might leave it vague and let them figure out the specifics. If that's the case, I have no issue with it. If it's not going to be defined enough for council to really act, and if Keith wants to help.
Yeah, Keith.
I would, of course, defer to whatever Juan or you all would recommend, but my thought is you should come with a fairly specific recommendation, not something vague. So kind of in my mind, what I'd have is we've found program, I don't know, Alpha or what have you, and it's going to cost about this much, and this is what we think it'll do.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And I while I have the microphone, I love the concept. I defer to your research, but I'm, perhaps with designated specific routes, we might have the technology today, but I'm not sure we have the technology to, send it on random runs. If we had a very specific loop that was pre-planned and pre-programmed and whatever else. But even with that, I'm not sure it's quite here yet in the sense of one of those autonomous loops. I'm trying to remember where it was. They've hit pedestrians and killed them and things like that. So it's not, and Tesla is probably leading the pack, and they're having significant issues. There was just New York Times did a big write-up on all of the issues and the crashes and the fatalities they've had. So love the concept, and I think we'll get there. I'm not sure we're there today. But to bring to council, we'd like to trial this program that will do this and cost this. Does that help?
I think more specificity is good. I was struggling. I was, when I prepared for the meeting, I was thinking, target Saturdays. That's why I asked about it. But I was thinking leave it vague so that we could evaluate. I don't know if we have enough evaluation of the different projects yet to be specific about this project, or I don't know that Saturday is really better than rush hour. That's just sort of my gut feeling. So I wanted to leave it vague so that you guys would have county support to dig into it and really say the T-Board thinks this is a good idea to think, for me, especially addressing the hiring issues around Saturday, but more broadly, T-Board. So I don't know if it looks like there are a couple comments, but that was my intent, is how do we help you guys? And I'm taking some notes on how to modify the motion.
If I can add one more thing, in all my research, I haven't found one autonomous vehicle in the United States that has bike racks. And we're very big on bike racks up here and being able to provide. And so these are a little bit smaller vehicles, these 8-seaters. So the weight, right now we can't handle the weight of an electric bike. They're just too heavy. And then the mini bikes. But yeah, I've reached out to many manufacturers and salesmen, and I can't get in touch with anybody to see why you don't see an autonomous vehicle with a bike rack. I don't know if it has to do with the radars and the sensors, or that it's an obstruction, but just food for thought.
That's an interesting point.
There's not one with a bike rack.
Yeah, Michael.
Based on what Councilor Lepsch mentioned, maybe we're not ready to ask council to do something, but I wonder if the Transportation Board could recommend that, and maybe council would have to approve this, I'm not exactly clear, that staff put together a proposal for a trial that we can then evaluate. And if we understand it and like it, then we could propose that trial be put to council's approval. Does that make sense? Is that valid? So can I propose a friendly amendment to your motion that Transportation Board recommends that staff develop a proposal for a pilot program for autonomous transit in Los Alamos County?
I think that makes sense. So back to
I would second
parliamentarians.
that.
Okay, we've got a second. Okay, good.
Because it's exactly what I was thinking too. We're a little bit ahead of the game, and we need to see if there's actually a reasonable pilot program. So good on you, Michael.
Okay, we've got an amendment and a second. So more discussion on the amended motion. Did you have something else, Michael? Yeah, you got it. I'm not looking. Yeah, George.
So your motion is just among the Transportation Board that we get, something more concrete in place to present?
If staff is interested in doing that, and if they would like assistance, I'm guessing that we would have at least one or two members might be interested in contributing if necessary. And I know that Mr. Warnicki, who talked to us previously, would probably be interested in being contributing as well. I know him well enough. I think I can speak for him. But if not, I'm wrong. Sorry. So, yeah, that was my idea.
Okay. And is that, maybe checking with Keith and Juan, is that, we're not making a recommendation to go to the council then? We're just making the motion that a proposal for a test bed be developed? Is that?
Yeah, and I think that probably the best avenue for this is coming up in your discussion with council of, because there's always usually that question comes up of, what can the council do for the board? And that could be a great suggestion, and that discussion can sort of been had with council at that time too. So I think it's multiple ways to get there, but that's one way that I think accomplishes what I believe the intent is tonight.
Perfect. Okay, thanks, Juan.
I like Juan's suggestion. I think it's a good one.
Perfect. We're all on the same page, but is there other discussion before we vote on the?
One last thing. There is currently no time indicated in the motion, and I would, in fact, change it one little way, which is to say when such a program comes available or is possible. In other words, they might look at it right now and say, you know, there's nothing there.
Oh, yeah.
But a couple of months from now, might hear about something, and it's like, well, we could do that. So that's the way I would prefer to see it, at least in spirit, if not in wording, if you see what I mean. Tiny detail, but, you know, that's what we're all about, right?
Yeah. I think I hear you. So you're saying that if there's nothing viable right now, we don't need a proposal back.
Right, but
if it comes, yeah, yep.
So, Mr. Chair, I'm sorry.
And also to encourage staff to keep down this road and know that we're behind you and that we'd like to go this direction, explore that. Because I know probably some of what's driving you to do this is being able to have drivers. Yeah, you know, people driving, that it's hard to have more routes, add days, when it's hard to keep all the routes filled. You know, I know one route was closed indefinitely for lack of a driver for it. So, you know, I think that, you know, you're going the right direction. I hope you see this as a, hey, keep going, keep doing it.
Yeah.
As this is so experimental and developmental, I'm wondering if there aren't actually organizations out there working in the autonomous vehicle field that wouldn't like to partner with a community interested in having a test bed. So how this motion is put forward, I think making it so that we identify ourselves as a community through our staff, that we're amenable to that sort of test bed concept, I think would be the useful thing here. It might be way too much for any single community to, you know, do this as their own experiment, but some organization that was thinking about actually wanting to do this from a commercial perspective long term might need a test bed, and we might be able to serve that role. So.
Yeah, I think my original had the word test bed, and I think we modified it to pilot, but that was definitely my intent. I was surprised to see the AAA sponsored the one that you mentioned. So yeah, I think that'd be the hope, is we can find somebody else who wants to partner. Yeah. So any other discussion on the amended motion? All right, I think it's time for a vote then, right? So do you want to read what you have, Louise, so we all agree what we're, okay. We'll know what we're voting on.
The Transportation Board recommends that staff evaluate the possibility of a pilot program for autonomous vehicles in Los Alamos County.
Sound good? Yep. All right, now we'll vote on that. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All right, we've got unanimous, and thank you, everyone. We passed a motion. The T-Board is in motion. All right, thanks so much for the presentation. That was a lot of fun.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Board.
All right. Now I'm up with the annual presentation to the County Council. And this was a little bit compressed, I think due to the fact we missed a meeting there 2 months ago. Typically, we would go through the slides and then have another meeting to evaluate them. We would be 2 meetings in a row, but we're going to have to compress it into one, so hopefully everybody had a chance to read the packet beforehand. We'll go through them in a little bit of detail. I iterated with Louise, and Juan, I think, looked at them as well. But this is due for presentation to the council May 16th, so in 2 weeks or so. So we want to scrub this and get it all right and take away any specifics. Can you pull those slides up, and I'll walk us through each one, just so we can spend a little time on those. All right, looks like Louise is pulling them up. Thanks, James. Maybe while we're pulling this up, I was going to save this for the chair's report to surprise you a little bit more, Michael, but I'm actually going to be out of town and pretty much impossible to give this even remotely. So hopefully you're in town and you can give these slides, so pay extra attention here. If not, we'll find somebody among the T-board. It's May 16th. I think I mentioned that. Yeah, May 16th, 2 weeks from now. Is it Tuesday, I believe? You don't have a good alibi?
Unfortunately, I seem to have that open on my calendar.
All right. Are these down in white? It's here. Okay, it's here. Okay, okay. So we're here to support you on this exercise, Michael. It's not just for me. If my plans change, I'll tell you, but I'm going to be out in the middle of nowhere, which is... All right, it's coming up. All right, everybody's got it up. All right. Do we want to change this to Michael's name, I guess, is the first question. And maybe we'll confirm, since you're presenting.
No, just like Karen's name was on the other presentation.
Leave it? Okay.
It's fine.
I'm good with that. Any other comments? This one's pretty straightforward. The one thing that I find useful, I know in the attachments, it has the page number listed, but actually putting the page on the slides, just putting the page number on the slide is pretty minor. All right, the next slide is the mission statement. So that's pretty straightforward. And I think I'll just go pretty quick. I'm not going to read these at you or anything. Can you advance it just one slide, Louise? Yeah. Sorry. I can't run it from up here. Can I? I need to. Yeah, I'm relying on it. We have the mission statement, and everybody's got it in front of them as well. So we've got the members. That looks good. I think foot stomping, 2 vacancies. I think that's on everybody's radar, but that was the only thing I was thinking about for this slide. Otherwise, that all looks good. On to the next slide, the guiding plans we have. I think that lists them all. I didn't see any plans that we were missing.
Yeah.
That's okay. On to the next slide. Oh, yeah.
You mentioned it later, but the snow one.
Oh, listing the snow and ice plan. I guess that's something we're approving in the cycle rather than us driving our actions. Is that fair? I mean, these plans are all county plans that we're informing our actions.
I'm not really sure.
Chair, I believe that that the guiding plans is more the county council adopted plans on just the guiding, and then the snow and ice is part of your work every year, but it's more an operational document for staff. Yeah,
makes sense.
Thank you.
Okay, great. One thing that I wasn't going to put on the slides, but for you, Michael, on the guiding plans, I was meant to go back and look at the dates on all these. Which one's the oldest? Which ones do we need to refresh? I don't know if they're probably not going to ask us that, but just for our internal use.
Right, to know which ones.
I don't know which ones are the oldest. Yeah. All right, on to the board activities.
I have one here, Chair. If
Yeah,
you don't
please.
mind. The formed bicycle working group. I know that was a big discussion that we had.
Perfect.
With the board.
So change that to working group. Yeah. Good catch, thanks. The other one, this and the next slide also, there's a lot of specific projects listed. I felt like it was probably good, but I didn't put the NM4 construction as something big that we're sort of paying attention to, but I don't think we want to list everything. So I don't know if there's other, as you look through this list of projects, do we want to drop one or add one? I think it's probably okay. It's good representative.
Yeah, Chair, the New Mexico 4 project, since it's not under the county's purview.
That was my thought too.
It might be, why it's not listed.
So, okay. Since it impacts the county, I was thinking saying we pay attention to it, but I think I came around to leaving it off, but I wanted to sort of raise the discussion to everybody. Yeah.
There's 2 things here that I don't know for sure should be on this list. One is Finch Street, which I don't think we actually did anything on in the last year.
I think that's a fair point.
Yeah, within the last year, I think there was a discussion. I'm looking at the county engineer. There might not be. Yeah. Okay, yeah, That's a good catch from Member North. Yeah, we can strike that one.
And the other one is the Open Meetings Act presentation. That wasn't done this year, I don't think.
Right, we haven't had that.
So that should probably go out, I think.
I have a question. The Canyon Rim Trail underpass ribbon cutting event, wasn't that last year? Yeah, so I don't know that it's relevant on.
The ribbon cutting?
That was that was.
Was that last year?
That was last year.
Well, this is covering the last years of activities.
Okay.
I don't know where the
Dave, do you remember, did you present that? Was that, I mean.
We did participate in that, and I think that it qualifies by a hair.
Okay. I can't, if you presented it last year, then we probably shouldn't present it again this year.
Bear in mind that my presentation style didn't involve running through all the little details. And therefore, it's unlikely that it was a big issue.
All right, fair enough.
But that said, I think that it is actually reportage on the last year, so it's okay either way. Certainly we were going to say at least that it was going to happen, but I don't remember the date of our presentation last year. So I don't know.
Wasn't in your annual Christmas letter or anything? And we've got a couple of good pictures from it too. So I think we'll leave it, but good point. Any other items we should include? I mean, it looked good and representative, and I think I wouldn't go through every single bullet. I'd pick one or two to highlight as well. So, but up to you. What's that? The North Mesa Road and Utilities. Okay. Yep, that's a good point. Oh yeah, Urban's Urban's the top one. Okay, so strike the North Mesa Road. Yeah.
I mean, you could go on and on. There's all kinds of little projects that got done. But I don't see any mention of Mr. Alther's neighborhood.
Oh, no, yeah, it's not mentioned, but there is a picture. But I was.
Yeah. Okay, so change it to Cumbres.
I was thinking I could get you a kayak picture of a kayak going down the road. Both of those.
All right, looks good, and we've got some great photos.
Yep.
Captions all looked reasonable. Looks great, so thanks for pulling these photos together. All right, goals and tasks looked good to me. I think we've tried to find overlaps with other committees. Yeah, goals and tasks review. So there's the snow and ice plan. Lots of going over projects like we did today. So that looked good.
All right.
Public meetings, yep, so this looked good. Implementing LARES. Keeping tags on airport issues.
Speaking of that, I thought we were supposed to meet our new airport manager.
Hey, save it for the member reports. But I was curious about that.
I was thinking, if we could probably get an airport member if we post on the agenda about closing the airport.
Yeah. Strike that comment. All right, challenges, recruitment. Are there other challenges we'd want to highlight?
Just generally having enough bidders for work that we need to do, because we have the work that we need to do and even the budget, but it's hard to get it.
Yep, I think that's a great. Yep.
Yeah, that's a.
And you've got language you can add on that Do you want to have a specific bullet? I mean, I think I know what it is, but
I think you'll be general enough, and I can mention that staff has discussed options and strategies to try to account for that. But
That's probably the critical core of what we had to say this year.
challenge is getting bids on projects. Yep.
And strategies to improve our.
Anything else? Then there's a Q&A slide. That's a good way to, oh yeah, another thing, David?
Yeah, on goals, there's a very specific goal to get to silver on our bicycle-friendly.
Yep.
So that should almost certainly be in.
I like that. Become a silver bike friendly. And what's the organization that would call it? Do you know one or off the top of your head?
Chair, I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay.
That's Keith's.
Yeah, that's Keith's.
Keith knows all that.
We have the plaque on our wall right outside our office, but I can't think of. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll put it in there.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, but the silver bike friendly community.
Those guys.
Good one.
Yeah. Let me see now. Yeah, we've already talked about. Another thing that we have discussed is increasing in-house capability to do public works projects. So you might want to mention that and say, you know, it was our idea, don't blame staff or something.
So would you, like a bullet under challenges and say, or
I think that's more a goal.
Yeah.
Myself.
Under goals, we could put
yeah,
discussions around increasing in-house capacity.
Right, yeah. And since Michael has to say all this, then it's his problem.
That's perfect.
Okay. And if we wanted to get a little bit preachy, should we get preachy?
So Michael says no. But
yeah, well, there is a big undercurrent that I think we've all been hearing, that we don't really need a whole lot of new toys, and could we concentrate more on maintenance? It might be going a bit far to make that point. I don't know. Leave it up to Michael.
Perfect. We won't put it in writing. You can bring it up depending on what you've had for breakfast that day.
I think that's all I had.
Okay. Anybody see anything else? Besides? Okay, I think we're all good with it. Look good to you, Keith? Oh, okay.
Good job.
Good one. Perfect. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Week and a half of notice.
Yeah. Funny,
And,
right?
and Chair and Michael, I'll be there with you, so I'll be right there with you to help catch anything that goes by. Thank you.
Yeah, Karen.
I'll show up, but I promise not to say a thing unless you ask.
Yeah, Karen. Oh, there were 2 pages of projects. Was it not on there at all?
That's kind of a point, huh?
Under board activities. And do we want to say, a lot of them are public meeting. Is it a public meeting around?
Yeah, we had a public meeting with Canyon Road and Sherwood on the same day.
That's right. I remember that.
Canyon Road, public meeting, and a Sherwood update.
Yep.
I'm assuming that you prefer to forget Sherwood, too.
We're not going to discuss.
Sherwood's on there. Sherwood's already listed, but yeah, public meeting around Canyon Road, so we'll add that bullet under board activities as well. Thanks, Karen. All right, I think we're past that one. All right.
Just out of curiosity, what kind of time amount to actually give this presentation, and would you expecting 5 to 10 minutes range?
That should be sufficient. It's really just the opportunity for the board to highlight some of the work and discuss some of the discussion. So if you want to breeze through some of these, that's fine. It's really whatever you'd like to present.
And we'll roll the dice on what kind of questions they ask and what I remember.
Yeah.
Perfect. Juan's got your back. That's what I've learned. Perfect. Well, thanks for agreeing on the spot as well. All right, we're on to item 6, reports and updates. First, we've got Keith, County Council Liaison Reports.
So I'll start out with, I make a joke when I go through the offices in the county here. I say, if I can convince you to call me Keith instead of Counselor Lepsch by the end of my term, then I'm successful. So I appreciate that you introduced me as Keith. So again, I just want to go backwards just a smidge. Like, I love the idea of autonomous cars or transit, and if we can make that work, I'm just concerned that it's not quite here yet. Conceivably, you know, if there's a very programmed route, we might have some opportunity in this town. But, you know, just the stuff I've seen, and I don't pretend to be an expert, it just concerns me that the technology isn't quite there, and so many people are working on it so hard. Interested in your bicycle committee. Unfortunately, the last little bit, my work schedule has conflicted with all of the meetings, so even though I'm on shift right now, I'm pleased that we're not flying. So I'd really like to be involved a little bit with the bicycle committee. That personally really interests me. One of the things that I know at least the two of you are big bicycle riders. I feel like we have other bicycle riders on the committee, 3 of you all, 4 of you all. I'm just curious if there's maybe something this board could consider looking at. Have you ever noticed when you pull up to the stoplights that you never get I see, enough said. And I don't, apologies to Juan, I kind of poked at him a little bit, and I would keep meaning to go back to the traffic engineer, and I've never made it back there. So, and sitting here, I feel like this might be an appropriate place to look at that, because I feel like many of the intersections, there's no reason why we couldn't get like a walk light at the same time as a light, rather than technically, you know, you're supposed to press the button, wait for an entire light cycle to go through before you cross. I think that's all I really have. Is there anything that anybody would like to ask me or that I could do for anybody, and any way I could support this committee?
I think we talked beforehand just about the motion we made last meeting.
Yes, I've already set that in motion. I've asked our council chair, and then I also copied the assistant county managers because they really get things done. So I think that will be.
Perfect. And that was on the EV presentation.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
And I'm hoping Dave will give a bike safety committee update on the member report section. So you'll hear a little bit about that. I was going to bug you about that. You're right. Excellent.
And you all, Luis actually did a great job helping to update the summary points from the meeting from what you wanted to carry forward. So if we could continue to do that, because I'd like to be able to present that at the county council meetings, but I'd like it better if I'm presenting what you really want me to present rather than what I think seemed to me the most important.
Perfect. Yep.
How else can I help you all, or what can I do for anybody here? Any questions anybody would like to ask me?
I don't want to say that
it's okay.
that there's nothing. It's more like right now, for example, in my case, I'm concentrating on the bicycle working group, and we're getting a tremendous amount of assistance from Keith on that matter. So until we have something a little more formulated, no. But once we do, and I'll get to that in the report, you betcha.
Yeah. I used to think I was a very avid bicycle rider until I showed up to the first meeting here and realized that my mileage was significantly less than some of you all, so I'm working on it.
It is bike month, and we had well, that's going to go in the chair's report, but bike month.
I have nothing else, so I yield the floor back. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Chair's report, now I get to talk about that. Let's see, I had mostly quick things. So we had the proclamation of Bike Month and discussion about Bike to Work Day, May 17th, I believe. That's the Friday. And so, let's see, David and I.
It's on a Wednesday this year.
Is it? Get the date right for the Wednesday.
May 17th.
17th? Okay. I had the number right.
The problem is that half of the lab isn't working on Friday.
Right. Okay.
Which would traditionally be it.
Yep. So it is the 17th, but it is Wednesday. Thanks for catching that. But Dave, Dave, I tried to be formal. Dave and I joined Juan and Keith, I guess, as well as Herman from the Bike Safety Working Group to accept the proclamation. So that was great earlier this week. Let's see. Oh, I saw some public comment online specifically about the road going up to the middle school and potholes in that. So I just wanted to raise that to the county. I don't know if you saw that. Somebody was complaining about that. I'm sure there's plenty of pothole complaints, but that road up the middle school is bad as well. Is that on?
I haven't heard that one, but maybe our traffic and streets team has, and I just haven't heard it from them yet.
Okay.
Yeah, and if I could highlight the new app, and the name's going to escape me now that I'm thinking about it. So there is a new app that the members of our community can download and report potholes via the app too. So just another way to. Perfect.
That's it. Is it Los Alamos Now or?
Yes. Yes. That's
okay.
it. Yeah.
I didn't know there was a pothole reporter in there.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks. I also saw, I think this was just last night. Today's been a long week, but I think it was yesterday. There was some online discussion about the lights down at NM4, and I don't know if people saw that. I guess the temporary lights that control the construction was right over face of the decommissioned light, or behind. People couldn't see the lights and they were out of sync, and so there was discussion like, I've tried to call Santa Fe County and got voicemail, and so like hopefully everybody's being safe. So hopefully that's gotten solved, but Karen's nodding, so that's already under it. Okay, great. And again, I know that's not our county problem, but that definitely impacts traffic and transportation. So it sounds like the county's on that one.
And Chair, if I could just add, so it's a temporary signal that they're going to add, and they're going to take the old signal offline. So they're working through those issues to get that, because in future phases of that construction, there's going to be some realignments through there, and so they need to have a temporary signal to take out the old signal.
Yeah. It sounded like it was a bad scene yesterday, but it sounds like we're working on that, yeah. Let's see. I think the other things, I got to decrypt my notes. I think I mentioned this when we went through our slides, but in general, and I hate to be so detailed, but if there's page numbers on the slide, sometimes they show up on the attachments, but then like when we went through the Rose Creek one today, there weren't page numbers. So it's just hard to refer back. A lot of times I write notes and put page numbers and then I can't figure out what I was talking about. That's my lame excuses, page numbers. It's more than that, but, and then just on a personal note, I'm going up with the middle school this week. This weekend, the band's playing up in Denver, and I'm going to drive my electric vehicle. And wish me luck, because I'm not only a chaperone, but I'm going to figure out the schedule of plugging in along the way. So
and I greatly appreciate you chaperoning that, and good luck.
Thank you. Both of the chaperones.
160 middle schoolers.
Yeah. It's going to be an adventure, yeah. We'll see if you see me again. That's not the reason I'm not making it to the county meeting. I think that's everything I had for the chair's report, though. On to board member reports, and why don't we start down at this end? Michael.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a couple of issues. I'm not sure exactly how to get consideration for things to be added to the agenda, but just a couple of thoughts that have occurred to me. As I drive down Trinity now, on multiple occasions, I'm watching the growth of the apartment or condominium complex there by the high school, and I'm wondering what is the traffic plan for that intersection, which is now a quiet, almost nothing going on 35th and Trinity, to what will be an enormous flow at probably 7:30 to 9 o'clock in the mornings once those apartments become occupied. I think that that's actually a great place to consider a roundabout as opposed to a traffic signal. But I don't know what the plans are, and I think it would be useful for us to understand it. It would be nice to have a plan in place before full occupancy of that site. So that would be one thing I'd like to have considered. The other is I think it would be useful for us to get Deputy Chief Morris or another representative from the police department to come in and share with us their sort of summary of traffic incidents in the county and what they perceive as trouble spots or places that things that we could consider to make recommendations on. So that would be a second potential agenda item. So again, I'm not sure how to go ahead and get those set up, but I give those ideas to you for something to chew on.
Great, thanks. And I think the process is we have to put them on as future agenda items, and then we can move them up. And I guess I think I know what you're talking about with the 35th and Trinity. I want to go, but I guess that's mostly private construction that impacts. It's not a county project, so we wouldn't have seen a brief or anything, but I don't know if county staff could update that. Yeah, thanks.
So this is the Finch Street project that we were referring to earlier. That,
There have been extensive reports on that.
So our county engineer has a lot more information on it.
Yeah. Hi, Chair and members of the board. Yeah, that project was it was my very first project when I started here. So they were in the midst of doing a traffic impact analysis at that time, the developer. And so we actually brought in a consultant at that time to do the traffic impact analysis for 35th Street and Trinity as part of the Hills development. So at the time, the traffic and impact analysis, the TIA, basically indicated that there was no need for a traffic signal at that location, given the increased flow from that development. That also took into account the future Finch Street project, which is next door at the medical center, and many of the traffic flows were kind of split between the two driveways, with the idea that a lot of the people leaving the Hills apartments in the mornings would probably actually exit out of the medical center Finch Street exit, just being that it's a little bit further westward, and they would exit leftwards onto Trinity heading that direction. While in the afternoon, it's a little bit more split, probably, I think, over at the 35th Street entrance. But neither one of those intersections are indicating traffic signal warrants or anything like that are needed at this time. So, and that also took into account the road diet in that same section. So, just a little bit of info.
Great, thanks. Super helpful. I think.
So it's going to be the way it is right now once all of those units are occupied? Is that what I hear?
Yes, that's accurate. One change is that there will be a bus pullout there just west of the 35th Street intersection with Trinity, and there will also be a pedestrian crossing that will be installed there with a pedestrian refuge median in the center of Trinity Drive.
That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I think we presented this project, I would say, probably 2 years ago to you all, and it's been a while, 3 years now. Okay.
You're the corporate memory.
Yeah, it might be, yeah, because I've been here 3 years, and that was around the time that I think it was kind of finalizing the design, so that makes sense.
So I think I don't know, we can discuss it, Michael. I think probably rather than having an agenda item on it, maybe getting some of the past reports.
That would probably.
Do you want to review those? That's probably for that one, yeah. And then as far as getting deputy chief, getting updates from public safety, is that something that just leaving it here with the county, or is that something we should ask counselors to help facilitate? What's the most effective way to, do you want to bring it up to the county, or?
I could talk to the police chief and the deputy police chief and share the request with them and request that they'll be put on a future agenda.
Okay, perfect. So. Jackie.
Can I ask briefly, where are we at with the hospital new entrance project?
So you're speaking about the Finch Street project?
I'm not sure how to accurately call it, where we're going to do some sort of easement in the corner of the parking lot and redo the hospital entrance.
Okay, yeah, Councilor Lepsch. We're actually working on right-of-way acquisitions right now, and so we are actively meeting with the medical center almost on a weekly basis, our legal team and theirs. And so a lot of those acquisitions they're kind of on the final leg right now. And once that's complete, then we will finalize the design, which is at about a 95% completion. It's all kind of running parallel right now. I'm anticipating that project will probably be bid this fall, actually, maybe winter, with construction of that Finch Street extension next year in spring. That's
awesome. And when might those apartments become occupied, give or take?
So the Hill apartments are, we've been meeting with them regularly. We actually are only overseeing the offsite improvements, which is the 35th Street leg that comes out of the hills and heads north to Trinity. And as you probably are aware, that 35th Street is actually going to be realigned with 36th Street across Trinity. And
did not know that.
Okay, so that's a big part of the project. Actually, is that 35th. One of the goals was always to have those streets align, 35th Street and 36th Street, because there's always been an offset there. And so that project is what we are overseeing, the offsite project, which is outside of the Hills Apartment. But I guess our involvement in these meetings have indicated that there's still a lot of utility work that needs to take place at the Hills, and there's still just a lot of work still. So I'm not sure exactly when they're looking at starting occupancy, but I'm guessing probably sometime next year is just kind of how it's looking to me.
And so because you're going to realign the road, is that why there's several sections at that 35th Street intersection that are literally dirt and not paved, and the giant hole just to the south, et cetera?
Yes, so there was actually a lot of utilities that had to be ran to the Hill Apartments, and so they're currently tying into utilities on Trinity and bringing those down to the Hills Apartments. So that's why there's kind of been some open trenches, and so that work is ongoing.
Thank you.
Great, thanks. That was everything, Michael? Great, thanks a lot. Georgia? Any member updates?
The tourism task force didn't meet this month, sorry. So, and I don't have any other comments.
Okay, great. Thanks for the update. Michael?
Really quick, I'm just going to make a formal, not formal, just an announcement to be on the record that my service on this board is as a private citizen and not as a representative of any other organization, so all my comments are my own, and that's all I have today. Thanks.
Ooh, can I copy that? And I need to say that as well. I forgot we both were at the same training. Let me go back to the chair report really quickly. My service on the board is also as a private citizen and not representative of any other organization. Thank you.
Oh. Really? Well, first I'll comment that Deputy Morris has been more than happy to drop by and cover any subject that we want covered in the past. So I don't really see that as being a problem at all, and I'm sure Juan agrees. Mostly, as you know, I'm concentrating on the bicycle working group. The outline of the plan right now and for some time boils down to two things. One is to actually come up with a specific map that shows exactly where the problems are that we need to solve, and not so much the usual philosophical document as a list of things that need to be done in order that they would like to see them done. That's getting very close. There's still a little bit of disagreement about what routing should be used. One thing that I will say that has been pretty much settled is a number of people raised the issue of putting brand new trails that cut through current wilderness type areas or open space, and there's no support on the working group for that idea. They want to stick basically to the roads that exist and not go into the weeds of messing up other things, and that's probably the smart move. Let me see now. There was an issue that Keith raised, and I'm trying to figure out what that was because I had an answer for it and I was holding it off till now. Anyway, if I remember that, I'll
dig into it. Bike signals at lights?
Oh, right. One of the things that's weird in the law is that a bicycle, of course, is a vehicle, and therefore the crosswalks and the walk buttons are not relevant to a bicycle under the law. Now, that doesn't have to be that way, especially on a municipal basis. So one of the things that's being considered as a suggestion is making that okay in Los Alamos County to use the crosswalks just as a pedestrian would and the lights. Another thing is what they call the Idaho stop, which is not requiring a full stop from a bicycle at stop signs, which is completely unnecessary. I mean, at a low coasting speed, you can see exactly what's going on and know whether you need to stop or not. So that would be ordinance issues that may come up. And anything else that you care to suggest would be open for consideration and coming back to the Transportation Board, so I'd love to hear more about that. Once that map is settled, the next idea is to inspect curative moves that can be made. The biggest single consideration right now appears to focus around intersections. And we've been in contact with Keith about the design aspects of that. We're not going to dig ourselves into that too deep, because that's, of course, going to be a public works issue when it gets to it. But the idea is just to say, here's the kind of thing that might work. To be as specific as we possibly can in developing a plan. The only other point that I'll mention is that we're hoping to have a rough outline and some specific ideas put together by August, so that there's a chance to get something into the next budget cycle. And that pretty much wraps up where we are right now. I expect to have some pretty specific stuff over the next 2 months and some discussions with staff for those ideas. And we'll see how that goes.
Great. Thanks. And thanks for getting the notification of the bike working group meeting into the media. I saw you. And the link to the PDF. So I looked at the map.pdf. So thanks for getting that out there.
We're trying.
Yep.
But thank you.
Anything else? That's everything?
That's all I've been doing.
All right. Plenty of good work. Yeah, George.
You brought up stopping at, the crossings, pedestrian crossings, but I'm thinking of the Hawk crossing at the golf course. There have been pedestrians that won't push the button. They stand there at the crosswalk and they're going to cross. So the driver says, there's a pedestrian in a crosswalk, I better stop. And meanwhile, the traffic behind them can't see that pedestrian and don't know why that car is slowing down. So we need to train the pedestrians and the bicyclists, everybody, push the button. It comes right on. It's there for you, and you really are making an ambiguous situation there, because I think those Hawks are really great, but people have to use them. And
that's a great point, yeah.
So anyway, they can cause a dangerous situation if they don't use them. So
That makes me think of one other thing that I could add. One of the things I've been doing is writing all the suggested routes, which of course means bringing my bicycle up, because I am not going to ride up from White Rock again. Thank you very much. And I'm kind of surprised, in my mind, this was kind of an okay place to ride a bicycle. And now that I've been doing it, I consider this town to be bicycle hostile. It's really kind of bad in quite a number of places. So my sympathy for you guys is increasing all the time. But when she started talking about that, I realized one of the scary moments is you're coming along Diamond and you come to the overpass, the pedestrian overpass, and the bicycle lane narrows to like, I don't know what, maybe 1.5 feet or something, and the cars are right on your handlebar. That's a scary spot. That just really is like, whoa. So you get through that as fast as you can and go, made it again.
Well, thanks for riding those, because yeah, I think it is. If you look at it from a car, you're like, oh, there's a nice big line everywhere, and it's those pinch points, and
It's been a real education for me in a number of places, but that'll be more detailed at some future date.
Well, great. Thanks for your leadership and work on the bike working group. It's great. All right, I think that's it for board member reports. We are on to staff reports. Juan, I believe this. Yep.
Okay.
What do you got, Juan?
Chair, so I do have a few items for you all tonight. I'll start with, I believe you all had on your desks this evening some disclosure forms. So if you guys would please fill those out and get them back to us. It is just a requirement of being on a board. So just wanted to highlight that. Next, an update on our 33rd, 34th Street project. That one's going really well. So Chris and Eric and Karen and everybody that's being involved in that project, it's going really well. Chris did mention that a little bit in his update. I think a lot of that has to do with the work schedule, the communication that's going on between the residents and the contractors and the county staff out there. So I just wanted to highlight that project's going really well. It's definitely on schedule. It might be slightly ahead of schedule also too. So we'll take those good ones. Last summer was hard. We'll take some good ones. I also wanted to brief the board on a continuation of a conversation that the county engineer and the T-board had last month about alternative methods. And so we've put together a project really fast. It's a new roadway resurfacing project. So this is brand new. We just opened bids this week. We're waiting to see how things went. I'll be issuing sort of a letter out to the community, just sort of discussing how this project came about, and in the discussions with T-board and our alternative delivery methods, this was just a creation of all those different ideas. So it is a roadway resurfacing project on the Barranca Mesa from the roundabout out towards Los Pueblos, and so the community hasn't heard anything about that. It wasn't in our CIP. This was all our transportation maintenance funds that we were looking at doing that. And so the idea was how can we sort of package a project together that we think might be enticing to some contractors, and it was. So we received multiple bids, and that was excellent. And so we got some really good pricing. We're working through the procurement process through that, and we'll be bringing that forth to county council. We're shooting for the May 23rd meeting. So sometimes between now and May 23rd, I'll issue a sort of a letter to the community just outlining that, but I wanted to brief the board on that tonight. That's something that came together really fast and really, spurned from a lot of discussion that we've had together. So really good news on that front. Next, I wanted to highlight in your packet this evening, we did have 2 recognitions. I just wanted to recognize Ramon Trujillo and Manuel, we call him Manny Morse, 2 of our transit operators who were placed in a state competition. So annually there's a New Mexico Transportation Association statewide conference. So it's where James, Annette, and a lot of the crews learn about what's going on around the state in transit. And as part of that, there's a competition with drivers, and 2 of our drivers placed. And so we have award-winning drivers. Not only are they very courteous and always highly rated in community surveys, but they're also just a testament to them. So I wanted to highlight those 2 drivers. Next, we have, I want to provide a briefing on some updates on some good news on some grants that we've received. So we've applied for a total of 6 grants this year with the New Mexico Department of Transportation. Some of them Rose Street and Loma Linda, like I alluded to earlier on our previous discussion. But we have received word that we've received 3 of these grants, totaling $750,000. So I'll briefly run through each of those. So the first is for $100,000 to update our pedestrian master plan document. So earlier in the discussion, you asked what was the oldest plan on our list, and that was our oldest plan. And so we're really excited to get into that and look at refreshing that one. Second is $250,000 for the purchase of Bluetooth travel time devices and permanent traffic count station. And so this project is something that we'll be working with Lanalon to, they have similar devices. And so the intent is to get to a place where we can start tracking travel time, and then we can start getting that out to the public. So we'll probably start with our county website, but our goal is to be able to get that out either via text message and ideally out sort of on a message board sign. So that's some long-term stuff that we're working on with the labs. And third is another item that we've discussed here with the board. So we received $400,000 for streetlight replacement. So this is for conversion to LEDs. So this was a really big one. So we were able to get a big chunk here. So we're gonna hope to accelerate our conversion program. And so we're looking at, we're gonna have to take this piece by piece. So we're starting to look at this. I see this as a multiple different types. Some will be a standard fixture swap, easiest way. Some medium difficulty will be we might have to replace some wiring. And third, we might need to replace some poles. And so we're sort of trying to figure out a best plan to figure that out, to roll that out. And so this year, as part of our budget that was recently approved by County Council, there was a little bit more money in there in our street maintenance traffic fund that we were able to, that we're looking at possibly trying to maybe hire a contractor to do some of these conversions on some of the easier side that I was talking about, so that could help speed some of these things up. So a lot of good things coming. I just do want to highlight that these are FY24 funds, and so they won't be available until October of this year. So we probably won't see some movement on some of these things till after that, but good news that we did receive a lot of that funding. And lastly, I would like to ask our county engineer to please come and give us another overview of some of the Bike to Work Week. And I also just want to thank him and his staff for putting these grants together and being successful. So we're really excited that all of these are coming to fruition. So thank you.
Thanks, Juan. Thank you, Chair and members of the board. So we talked about it a little bit about the Bike to Work Day, May 17th, and I'm just happy to let you all know some of what we have planned for the day. We're going to do our normal kind of early morning, what they call the Energizer Station there near Sullivan Field on the corner. And so we invite all of you to come by at that point for, they're going to have some swag and snacks and drinks and whatnot. And so we'll be set up there in the morning. And then to change it up a little bit this year, we actually went ahead and booked a presentation room at Sala, which in the evening will be there from 6 to 8. And we're going to be streaming some videos, the Sid and Mackie video, which some of you are probably all of you are familiar with. I actually haven't seen it, so I'm looking forward to it. And then we're hoping to have the bicycle working group do a small presentation on just some of what, you all have been discussing and maybe some of the ideas that you have. And then we'll go through and talk just some of the different projects that we have around the county that are bike related, such as Urban Trail and Canyon Rim Trail, and just kind of give some updates on all of that. And so we invite you all to come. I know they'll have the concession stand open at Sala, and we'll probably have some additional giveaways and things like that there. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out and we can give you more info. And there should be a press release coming out, I think, on probably next week. So we'll have all that, all the information there. Sala will also be posting all of this information on their website. It might already be up, but I think probably by Monday it should be up there as well. So we're looking forward to all the events, and we welcome you, and hopefully some of you can attend.
Great, that's awesome. I guess, do we have to worry about a quorum notification? I'm very sadly going to be out of town, so I can't join, so I'm not a problem, but hopefully all four of the rest of us can, and then we have to worry about a quorum notification, right? So we should coordinate on that. I don't know if we can't decide right now. If four of us show up, then we have a potential quorum, and we have to.
Chair,
if three of us show up, yeah.
I'm a public citizen.
So we'll keep that in mind, everybody, if we're going. Yeah. But that's great to hear. The Sala stuff is really exciting. And
Yeah,
like
no,
to
it's
work.
cool.
Thanks for
It should be exciting.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Thanks. That was everything, Juan? I had a couple of quick questions, of course, but before I go, any other board members' questions for Juan? We don't need questions. I'll go ahead. Okay. I saw in the report on page 11 there was something about Cañada Bonita, and I was just curious: are there trail changes going on? There was nothing in Cañada Bonita on my radar.
Chair, members of the board. Yeah, so Cañada Bonita it's one of the latest IDRC developments that we've been reviewing in IDRC. It's over on Canyon Road, right where Urban Trail is actually going to cross Canyon Road. And so this is I think it was called Traveling Nurses at one point, and it's had a few different names, but we have been reviewing the development as well as some of the traffic analysis for that location. And so it's a mixed-use development, residential and commercial.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I was thinking the trail up by the ski hill, and I didn't know anything was going on up there. So perfect, thanks. And then maybe this is you as well. There was something about the Canyon Road Trail Bridge being replaced for utilities.
I can.
And I just was curious about details of when is that, or what's?
So that's the trail that's across from the aquatic center. And
okay.
So that was brought to our attention that needed some repair, and so we're looking at instead of replacing it with timbers as it is now, we're looking at sort of a different sort of replacement that might last a little longer. But before we did any of that, we wanted to relocate the utilities for the lights that are out there. And so that's what that one entails.
Okay, and that utility work's going on right now.
I believe it's complete. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But the surface is we're looking at trying to maybe some sort of bridge or an arch structure. So that's what the long-term fix is for that.
Perfect, thanks. Yeah, for almost all of these, I need a Google map with like a pin of which, because I was thinking it was out towards the co-op and the new trail out there, and I didn't think there was anything that needed work, so that makes sense. And yeah, I was using my app quite a bit for the various discussions today. We need a permanent map for the trail committee, or for the transportation board. I think that's it. Anything else? Nope. I think we are all done.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn.
That sounds good. I think we're ready for that. Any seconds?
I'll second that.
All right. All in favor? All right. We are adjourned. Fill out your financial